Hi there, I'm Mike Gales for Everlast Nutrition, and in this video I want to answer your questions about protein. And I often get asked these questions by people that are new to working out. And so I figured I would gather up all the most common questions and stick them into this one little video. And so, where to begin? Well, I guess at the beginning. And so, what is protein? Well, protein is the name given to a collection of amino acids. And protein carries out many functions in your body. But the main thing to understand for this particular video is that your muscles are basically made out of protein. Next up, why do you need protein? Well, it's like I just said, protein carries out many functions within the human body. But let's quickly talk about protein when it comes to your muscles in particular. When you provide extra resistance to muscles, friction causes microtrauma to the muscle fibers. And you could think of that trauma as tiny, almost microscopic tears to the muscle. And your body repairs that trauma after a training session. And it makes your muscles a little bigger and a little stronger so that they're better equipped to handle the stresses that they're being subjected to. So when you resistance train with enough intensity, you're basically forcing your body to adapt to that new stress by adding a little more muscle. Remember that your muscles are made of protein. And so the body needs a fresh supply of amino acids to make repairs. And when it comes to supplements, you could think of it like this. If your body were a cement wall, then the protein is the cinder blocks that form the foundation. And all other supplements are basically just tools that help your body construct the wall. But the wall itself is made out of protein. And of course, water. So what happens if you don't eat protein? Well, your body's going to repair that microtrauma one way or another. And if you have amino acids in your system because you'd eaten a protein source, well then your body will use those amino acids for repairs. And if you don't have any protein circulating in your system, well your body is going to get them by catabolizing other muscles. In fact, if you reduce your protein intake down to 0 and you kept up your resistance training regimen, you would notice that you were actually getting smaller instead of getting bigger. And that's because without an adequate protein supply, your muscles are basically eating each other for amino acids. So long story short is that everybody needs protein, especially those of you that are very physically active. Next, how much protein should you be taking? Because that is the $64,000 question. Because everybody seems to have an opinion on this. Like, oh bro, you need at least 40 or 50 grams of protein per serving every 2 to 3 hours because that's the law. I'm telling you, that's the law. But honestly, the answer is that it depends because obviously we're all unique individuals. And so it's going to depend on a few factors such as your current muscle mass, your training intensity, your age, and your sex. But in order for you to gain some new muscle, you are going to have the building blocks to make it. And so you definitely need to be ingesting some protein. And as I mentioned, your muscles will sustain some microscopic damage when you train. And so your body needs enough of those amino acids or materials for muscle to make some repairs. Many bodybuilders have a general rule of ingesting 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And you can do that if you like, because that number is not completely unreasonable. But it still might be a little high for many of you. Yet it is infinitely better than the guys that are taking 3 to 4 scoops per shake 3 to 4 times a day for something like 300 to 400 grams of protein per day, because you don't need that much. So you could be overcautious and do the whole 1 gram per pound and you'll be just fine. Yet when I'm looking to gain a little more muscle, I personally recommend only 0.75 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass, and that's what I'm looking to gain. So if I was a person who was 100 pounds, well then I'll be looking to put in my body 75 grams of protein per day. Or someone like myself that is 200 pounds, well then I'm aiming for 150 grams of protein per day. So that's 0.75 grams when I'm pretty active. And I would shoot for a minimum of 0.6 grams per lean pound of body weight to maintain my lean muscle when I'm not as active. So in my case, that's 120 grams a day when I'm not very active, and I aim for at least 150 grams a day when I'm being extremely active and looking to gain some extra muscle. So once again, personally, I'm looking to have 120 grams of protein per day when I'm looking to maintain, and I up it to 150 grams of protein per day when I'm looking to gain a little bit of extra muscle. And those numbers are important that they come from your total diet and not simply from supplements like bars and shakes. because try to remember that supplements are there to augment your diet and never to replace it. So you want to get the bulk of your protein requirements from your actual diet if you can, and not simply from supplements. And when we talk about protein supplements, we're usually talking about the protein bars and especially the protein shakes. And so I'm going to spend the remainder of this video discussing the protein shakes because that seems to be where the majority of the questions about protein are actually coming from. And I guess that's because when a person who's new to training walks into the supplement section of their favorite superstore, or they go to a specialty supplement shop, they're overwhelmed with a huge wall of completely different choices. And so let's see if we can't simplify that a little bit for all of you guys that are just starting out. First, why do people drink these shakes in the first place? And I guess the reason why you see people drinking protein shakes honestly is because they are extremely convenient. And we said that after a workout, your body is going to be looking for an amino acid source to use to rebuild and repair itself. And again, if you don't have protein circulating in your system, well then your body still has to make that repair anyway. And then it might use some amino acids from existing muscle tissue. And thus you're in a catabolic state. Roughly speaking, that your muscles are basically eating each other, which we would like to avoid if at all possible. So by ingesting some protein immediately after your workout, your body can then use those amino acids to rebuild and repair itself. And that would make you anabolic and put you in an anabolic state, which is muscle building. And that should always be your ultimate goal when you're resistance training. And that ties into the next question, which is if you're only going to take protein one time a day, then when is the best time that you should take it? So the very best time to get some protein into your system is going to be as soon as possible after your training session. Why? Because that's when your body's going to be craving those amino acids to make some repairs. And you want to limit the amount of catabolism that your muscles are going to undergo due to your training by delivering them some protein right away. That's why the shakes are so popular, because it's so much easier to drink down a shake post-workout than it is to cook up some chicken or some fish or even have some nuts or something. And now some people advocate taking a protein shake pre-workout. And I guess that always is going to depend on what you're going to be doing. Because I always found that taking a shake pre-workout hindered my performance. Because a certain amount of energy is going to be geared towards digesting that heavy shake. And I also never felt like running or doing some heavy squats while having a shake in my stomach. And I'm telling you, you definitely don't want to be taking some body shots with a gut full of protein shake. So if you're going to only have one shake per day, then make it after your workout and you're going to be doing just fine. And again, that's why the shakes are so handy and so convenient, because they're so easy to take post-workout. Next, how much protein per serving? Well, in general, 20 to 30 grams for a post-workout serving should be optimal for most people. More is not necessarily better. So will taking 5 scoops give that guy 5 times more results than the guy who's only taking 1? No, it won't. And you're going to get some people that are going to advocate eating only 3 chicken breasts or steaks or something after a workout. And then they also have to realize that yes, you can still gain some weight by having all of that extra steak after your workout because protein still has calories. And it's also expensive. So there's no reason to go around chowing down 3 chicken breasts or 3 steaks or what have you. Take 1 scoop of protein between 20 and 30 grams and you're going to be doing just fine. And why overwork your kidneys with all that extra protein if you don't need to? Next, a popular question is, what is the best type of protein to take after my workout? So again, a beginner is there in a store and he's standing in front of this huge wall of protein with a huge amount of selections. And you have these different types of protein, from pea protein to soy to perhaps powdered beef, and then the most popular milk proteins of whey and casein. So what's the difference? Well, for the most part, it's a different source of protein that is used to make that specific shake powder. Animal protein sources usually have a complete amino acid profile, meaning they contain all of the essential amino acids, which are the ones that your body can't make by itself. Most plant sources, however, are missing essential amino acids. So in the past, many people thought it was better to go with an animal protein source to build muscle. Yet interestingly, the most muscular animals in nature like a horse or a rhino for example, are actually vegan. And these days there are some vegan blends that do have all of the essential amino acids in one protein scoop. For a beginner looking to only take one post-workout shake per day, well then look for something that does have that complete amino acid profile. And aside from having all the essential amino acids, you're also looking to take something that is quickly broken down and absorbed by your system. That way it can get to those recovering muscles as quickly as possible after your workout. And traditional sources like whey are usually the way to go. That's because when choosing a post-workout shake, a factor for choosing a type of protein is its bioavailability, and that's the rate at which the protein is absorbed. So proteins such as whey are easily broken down, and thus they reach your muscles with the greatest of speed. And it's that factor of bioavailability which supplies the answer as to why it's better to have a protein source like whey as opposed to chicken, eggs, or fish, or even other protein powders like casein post-workout. The whey is more easily absorbed by your body and it gets to those muscles quicker to begin that repair process and minimize muscle catabolism. For most beginners, keep it simple and whey will probably be the way to go for you. You'll do better with that than you will with some slower digesting proteins such as casein or egg. And next you're going to notice that even within the whey category that there are a ton of different options like hydrolyzed whey, isolates, or whatever. If you have some sort of digestive issue like lactose intolerance or some bloating for example, then you may want to go with an isolate protein, which basically means that the protein is more pure and the things like the lactose have been removed, making it easier to digest. But they're also more expensive. And so for most people, a basic whey protein blend will do just fine. You will also see that there are some proteins out there that are labeled as weight gainers. And these guys usually have a complex carbohydrate of some sort that's been added to the mix. And that's basically to help increase their calorie count. And those are for guys that have difficulty gaining weight. But for most of you beginners, save your money and go with a simple whey protein blend. Finally, you may have some sort of dietary or ethical concerns. Well, like I said, there are some new vegan sources that have made their way to the market. And these guys use a blend of different plant sources to have a complete amino acid profile. And some of them also have high bioavailability. I personally use a vegan blend of rice and pea protein. And that's because it digests quickly, it has a complete amino acid profile, and it has all of the BCAAs, and it's a protein that can be universally taken by everyone looking for an effective post-workout recovery. And that's because it has no lactose, no ethical issues, and it's free of hormones, and it's hypoallergenic. Now, I'm not looking to preach or sell you anything. I'm just letting you know what I take and that there are some other options out there besides whey, and you can choose whatever you like. But for most of you beginners, a simple whey protein blend will most likely be the way to go. Next, taste is a huge factor. And if you go into any supplement shop, well then most of them are going to have some samples that you can try before you commit to buying 2, 5, or even 10 pounds of this stuff. Because I mean, this is something that you could be ostensibly drinking every single day. And you're not going to want to do that if you feel like you're about to gag or that you're drinking chalk or something. So choose one that you don't mind drinking, or even better yet, one that you like to drink. So this is just a simple heads up to choose one that you like to drink. And these days, some of the protein shakes actually taste pretty good. Next, when it comes to flavor, again, choose something that you're gonna like. So if you hate strawberry, well then obviously don't choose strawberry, choose something different. And these days, there's just a ton of different flavors out there, so it may be a little confusing. And if you're not sure, then I suggest that you take vanilla, and here's why. It's a neutral flavor so that you can still mix it with water and it's still going to have some sort of taste. But then you could also add different types of juices like orange juice or cranberry juice, and it's easy to switch the flavor. Or you could even add chocolate milk if you wanted to make it chocolate. So if you're unsure about what flavor that you think you're going to take, I suggest in the beginning, perhaps go with vanilla. I'm so sorry, I know my videos tend to get a little long, and so I'll try and wind this one down. We all need protein, and I know many people read all the magazines or they listen to fitness gurus that tell them that they need to be taking huge amounts of protein to get fit. Or they'll often even tell a beginner that they need to be taking several different types of protein. There's one in the morning, one in the afternoon, one post-workout, one in the evening. Some of them are even made from New Zealand cows or something. I don't know. There's just so many different things out there. But just keep in mind that it's in their best interest to sell you as much as they can. And all I am saying here is to keep it simple, because simple is what usually works best. I'll just leave you with this. The shakes are a great and super convenient and effective way for people to boost their protein intake. And for most of you that eat well, and remember that most of your protein should come from your diet and not from supplements. So for most of you that eat well, most likely one post-workout shake is probably all you're really going to need. As a frame of reference, I usually walk around between 200 and 210 pounds at just under 6 feet tall. I have a high FMI index, so that's a fat-free mass index, of between 24 and 25, which means that naturally you're not going to find too many people larger than 200 pounds lean at 6 feet tall. And I say that because I carry a significant amount of muscle mass and I only have between 2 and 3 shakes per day. And each of those shakes has about 22 grams of protein. And the reason why I have 2 or 3 scoops a day is because I usually don't eat meat and I need to get that protein from somewhere. Perhaps if I ate more meat, I too would only have 1 shake post-workout. So my whole point for telling you that is that with those 2 or 3 scoops of protein per day, I'm usually between 0.6 to 0.75 grams per pound, or between 120 to 150 grams of protein per day, and that, remember, is from my total diet. And now I've been doing this for years, and I'm heading towards 42 years old, and I haven't really lost any significant muscle mass yet. So adding a protein supplement to your diet can definitely benefit you, but you do not need to be having 9 scoops a day. And so for most of you, 1 or 2 scoops is going to be all that you're really going to need. So my advice for protein shakes is to, first and foremost, choose one that you're going to like. So try some samples because some of them actually taste pretty good. And remember that if you're not sure about the flavor, well then choose something more neutral like vanilla that you can mix with virtually anything. And if you're looking to drop weight or maintain your weight, well then you're going to want to mix your shakes with water, as you need to be conscious of your caloric intake. If you're looking to gain some extra muscle, well in that case you need the extra calories to do that. And so then mix it with whatever you fancy, be it milk, juice, fresh fruit, or whatever. Next, most of you guys don't need to buy 2 or 3 different kinds of protein. So choose one protein type that has a complete amino acid profile and one that also has high bioavailability, meaning that it gets absorbed fairly easily by your body. Now I use a vegan blend, but most of you can choose a simple whey protein, and if you find that you're having lactose or bloating issues, then you may want to go with the isolate, and if not, then save your money. And remember, if you're looking to gain muscle, then you could go with the norm of 1 gram of protein per pound per day. But I've always used 0.75 grams of protein and at about 20 to 30 grams per serving, and that's always been fine for me, and it will probably be fine for most of you as well. And that's going to equate for you to about 1 or 2 shakes per day. But if it's only going to be 1 shake per day, then make that shake post-workout. And if you have to take more than 1 shake per day, well then I recommend spreading them out by at least 3 hours between shakes. And now maybe some people out there are skeptical about this advice because they've heard somewhere that they're supposed to be taking multiple scoops of protein or all these different fancy types. So to keep it simple, I like to use this simple analogy. Let's say I have me and I have my twin. So genetically we're identical and we're following the exact same training protocol and the exact same diet, but the servings of protein shakes are different. I follow my advice and he's following what many of the magazines say to do. I keep it simple with only 1 type of protein that has a complete amino acid profile, only 1 scoop per serving, and I just ensure that I have about 150 grams of protein per day from my total diet. So in my case, that's 2 to 3 scoops per day. My twin gets way more complicated. He's taking multiple scoops with completely different types of protein at different times of the day. And so let's say overall he's taking 300 grams of protein per day. After 6 months, what would the difference really be? I think the main difference that we would notice is that I would probably have a few $100 extra in my pocket that I didn't spend on all those different types of protein. And I also won't be so stressed wondering when I'm supposed to take what. So let's keep it simple, because keeping it simple actually does work. So thank you for watching. And this has been Mike Gales for Everlast Nutrition. And if you like these videos, then please click below to like or subscribe, as we're constantly posting up great tips and new ideas that are meant to get you into the greatest shape possible.